Hello. How are you doing, folks? Hope you are doing well. It's been a while. All right. Hope you have been doing well. It's been a while. I was stuck abroad in a different country for a few weeks to do some paperwork and all of that. Finally back. This is going to be probably the final stream of the year. We might do another one that is a bit casual next week, but probably just on Discord. Anyways. Are you okay, folks? Yeah, thank you, Jess. It went very well with the paperwork. Let me actually try to have the chat alongside with the presentation for today. It should not be too difficult. Let's do something like this. There we go. So I can see the chat. There we go. All right. All right, let's go. So today we are talking about the do's and don'ts of concept art to get a job. It's been following a lot of posts I've been doing on LinkedIn a few weeks ago. I was asking studio managers and lead and art directors to elaborate a bit about the gripes they have with concept artists at work. or even outside of it, I started to centralize a few informations. And I mixed it with one of the videos from the mentorship where I'm talking about the deal breakers. So the goal of that video is to tell you about the main deal breakers that we see all the freaking time in people's portfolio or even social media and all of that. And how to address that, why it's bad, how to turn it into something good to help you succeed. There's going to be way more lives like that, by the way, because I'm currently centralizing the data I'm getting every time I'm asking people from the industry about the gripes they have. I'm asking a few more questions at the moment on LinkedIn. There's going to be way more lives about that in the future. All right, let's get started. It's going to be the usual, not so elegant presentation with just text. That's fine. Let me actually move that to the other side. Here we go. It's going to be a bit easier for me to check the chat this way. So let's get started. The do's and don'ts of concept art. As always, if you are having a question, if you are discovering the lives or whatever, keep it for the end of the presentation. And feel free to tag me in the chat. This way I see it highlighted in orange and I know there is a question. All right, let's get started. Let me put on my glasses because I will have to read a bit. I know there's a crappy ass blue reflection in my glasses, but whatever. And actually, you know what? I have my face right there. Let me put it here. This way it's kind of okay. All right. I want to start with a preface. I want to start with something called the law of supply and demand. I'm guessing that everyone roughly knows what it is. But to summarize it, the law of supply and demand is an economical rule. And overall, the easier and the more common something is, aka high supply or being in a commodity, the less valuable it becomes. On the other side, the harder to access something is and the more rare it is, which is equal to low supply, the more valuable it becomes. It's very important to constantly remember about that. I know we are artists. I know we don't like economics and it's trendy to bash on corporate greed and CEOs and all of that. It's still a business. It's the biggest cultural business in the world, especially video games. So the rules of business perfectly apply. And for us, being artists trying to find a job, the fact we are artists does not make us exempt of abiding by the rules of supply and demand and what the market wants. That's something that way too many artists in a very idealistic way tend to think and forget about. And we need to remember this is a job, this is a business. The same rules that any other business has also applies to us, transposed to art. Okay? So the law of supply and demand transposed to art, what does that mean? It means that if everyone is doing something or able to do it, it has virtually no value in the market. Art has never been easy and accessible in terms of jobs, and art will never be, despite technology making it seemingly more accessible. The art industry is super highly competitive, so your portfolio needs to be competitive, and there is no way you will get a job with content that is common offer and low value. It is extremely important to remember that because so many people, it's going to make sense. I've bashed on that. I've memed about that to oblivion on LinkedIn and Discord and previous lives about the trends on ArtStation and all of that. Everyone following trends, everyone doing the stuff that makes them look like clones of clones of clones of clones of famous artists. It's literally them being a commodity. How is the kitty? Very good. Thank you, Romik. And the video of FZD of targeting your portfolio would be a good reference about this subject of supply and demand. Yes, I heavily advise everyone to check that video from Feng Zhu called Targeting Your Portfolio. I think that's the video 112 or 113. I don't remember precisely. It's very good. It's about the hard stuff versus the easy stuff. And it complements extremely well what we are teaching in the mentorship. What we are doing in the mentorship is just that we are pushing that way further than what an hour and a half video could do. And we are taking people by the hand to execute that properly. But yeah, law of supply and demand, extremely important. With that being said, let's get started. There are a list of different deal breakers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 deal breakers. You already know the title of them. Let's start. Some of them are going to be obvious. Some of them are going to be way less obvious than what you think. The first one, very obvious, lack of fundamentals. Fundamentals, by that I mean knowing how to draw, knowing perspective, anatomy, composition, color theory, lighting, all the theoretical part of art. This is non-negotiable. These are the building blocks of your art skills. It is what allows you to be versatile and not be a one-trick pony on only one thing. We are talking about one-trick ponies a bit later. It is extremely important that you have fundamentals. I know that so many artists today are trying to skip it, and it's not going to work. This is the first thing. If you don't have the fundamentals, if you don't know to draw, if you don't show you're good at anatomy, perspective, or whatever is required for your job, you won't even stand a chance of getting an interview. So fundamentals are non-negotiable. It makes you versatile, and I know a lot of people are disturbed by that generally, but to work on short deadline, you have no choice but to use 2D. 3D is slow. It's very good at iterating once you are settled on the design. It's very good at experimenting once the scene is built, but the time building it is very long, and you cannot solely rely on 3D. 2D sketches, even napkin sketches, they are required. They are not asking you to draw well. They're asking you to just communicate your ideas properly. And there is a podcast coming pretty soon with Edouard Noisette. He's the principal concept artist at Crytek. He was working as a senior concept artist at Ubisoft before. It's coming during the vacation. Let's treat that as a little Christmas gift. He's explaining that. He's explaining that when he's working at Crytek or even at Ubisoft, most of his work, if he was to share it on a station, it will not attract attention. It will be like, what the heck is that? It does not mean to be... The goal of those sketches is not to be beautiful. It's not to collect that on a conversation. It's meant to convey ideas. And the fastest way to do that is with 2D generally. So the solution, very obvious. We are starting with super basic surface level things. Fundamentals are non-negotiable. You need to know to draw. You need to know your perspective, your anatomy, your colors, etc. You cannot afford to be a slave of tools. We're going to talk even more about that. These fundamentals are necessary to then be able to focus on design. Because if you're struggling with technique, if you're struggling with the fundamentals, you do not have enough mental bandwidth to then focus on design. So everything will be put to the technique and no mental energy will be spent on design. So you might render something super well, but the content is empty or generic. Good. Let's move to the next one. We are very fast on the first ones. The second one is lack of 2D skills. And the problem that is being highlighted when you lack 2D skills, and that we see on a lot, and I mean a lot of artists, especially those applying to the mentorship. As I was saying in a previous live, I'm receiving between 20 and 40 demands for the mentorship per week, just for the call. I'm picking at best 4 to 5 people in a call, because most of them, when it's not just because they are beginner and there's no fault about that, it's just about being patient and replaying later. A lot of them that think they could do it and are getting refused, it's always the same problem. They are slaves to 3D. They skipped the 2D phase to jump directly into the cool kid stuff, the 3D, and they don't have fundamentals. And that's the problem. And it's also why in the mentorship we are getting more and more people who are doing stylized, is because when you are doing stylized, you cannot bullshit your way through 3D. You have to know to draw. It was unexpected, but that's the reality of how it happens in the mentorship. It doesn't mean that it's done and over for those who are doing realistic. On the contrary, we still have very good realistic people, but you need to know how to draw. Being a slave of 3D is very dangerous. Again, I'm not crapping on 3D. I have nothing against 3D. I've been using 3D extensively across my whole career, but you cannot rely solely on that. What if one day the license doesn't work? What if one day you have to do a napkin sketch very fast and you don't even know to do that? And the problem is that today a lot of people tend to think that 3D is the solution to everything. No. As we just saw before, you need the 2D skills before. You need to work in Photoshop or Procreate or anything that has layers. You need to know all the tricks in Photoshop to save time. You need to properly structure your layers to give the PSD file to someone else, because concept art is a collaborative effort and you are very likely to pass the files that you are working on to someone else. So the solution, again, very Captain Obvious, grind your fundamentals. I know it requires to be patient, and it's not as immediate as learning Blender in 2 weeks, following the donut tutorial or the JAMA tutorial, kit bashing stuff from Bridge, putting an HDRI, and boom, 3 weeks after you started, you can already photorealistic shit. Okay, that's satisfying, but everyone can do it. And also, on ArtStation. Not really on ArtStation, but rather on LinkedIn, go check the CVs of people. Go check those who have been having an uninterrupted career for, let's say, 10 plus years. Again, Edouard Noisette is a great example. The interview with him is coming very soon. He has been working in the industry uninterrupted, never being jobless for over 10 years. And the common point between all those artists is that they know their fundamentals. They know 2D, they know 3D, they know everything. There's not a gap. There's not something blatantly missing that they are trying to overly compensate with something else. When I see a lot of people who are slaves to 3D, I know Unreal Tournament in the chat right now is talking a lot. Marnix, you are a hard surface designer, so you are in a massive niche. And in that case, of course, you need 3D, but you know to use 2D, you know to draw your spaceship and all of that. So despite being heavily specialized into 3D, and a lot of jobs are requiring to be heavily specialized into 3D, I see you coming all those on one pixel brush nerds, the character nerds, and all of that. We're going to talk about that, don't worry. You still need to know the fundamentals. It's very, very important. It's not immediate, it takes time, but that's how you make sure you also do not fall victim to imposter syndrome. I've been talking to a lot of artists in the mentorship who are mostly slaves of 3D. It grew a massive imposter syndrome when they were at work because they were like, I'm so terrified that everybody discovers that I don't know how to draw, that I'm overcompensating with 3D for lack of fundamentals. It's going to cripple your career. You're going to pay the price for later. Every time in the art world you want to take a shortcut, every time you want to cut corners and to skip something required, it might work on the short term, but middle to long term, you're always going to pay a very hefty price. Okay. Do we show more 3D in our portfolio or more 2D? Ideally, for concept art, they don't give a shit about you showing 3D models and all of that. They want your work to be complex. They don't care about how you make it for as long as you make it. So you don't have to show 3D in your portfolio. Cover it in 2D and make sure it's almost unnoticeable what has been done in 2D and what has been done in 3D. That would be my tip. Unless you're aiming at super duper realistic studios like One Pixel Brush that of course wants you to work in 3D, but this is not for juniors. You need to have experience before and you need to still know how to draw. That's another do and don't that I can talk immediately about that. I forgot to put it, but another don't is do not try to start your career at senior heavy studios. By senior heavy studio, I mean all the super trendy and prestigious ones like Sony Santa Monica, Character, One Pixel Brush, all those mega big studios. There might be a few exceptions like Character, Go Juniors, okay, don't get me wrong. But those studios, those super trending one, Naughty Dog, Sony Santa Monica, things like that, you are going to crash on it because they are not hiring juniors. So by aiming at them and trying to aim at it and then whining on LinkedIn, oh my God, I cannot get tired, it's affecting my mental health, you set yourself up for failure in the first time. It's not sounding like a rant. It's just very benevolent. You need to acknowledge the absurdity of doing that. You need to get experience first. And there are plenty of studios hiring juniors. Again, the tip I gave last time to see if a studio is hiring junior, go check the credits of the game they worked on. You're going to check all the concept artists, check their LinkedIn. If they got hired with less than 3 years of experience at that studio, consider them as junior friendly. As simple as that. Next, lack of 3D skills. We are talking about 2D before. 3D is still required, except for maybe the super stylized character design. And I see Marnix again talking about one pixel brush. And yeah, they are working on also stylized work. But generally, stylized is a tad more 3D resistant, at least for characters. Environment for stylized, you need 3D. No question asked. Blender is the way to go when you need 3D. It's open source. It's available for free on the free main OS. Let's say you work on 3ds Max and then you join Framestore, Conquest, they work on Linux. There's no 3ds Max. They are using Maya. You're dead. Blender is usable everywhere. You have tons of add-ons. The community is using it. And overall, it's become the standard for the industry for concept art. So use it. So when to use 3D? Not at the very beginning of your design stage. You're going to do it when you have sketched the idea and you need to execute it properly. You're going to need to design the thing roughly. And then when you want to do it in a clean way, that's where you move to 3D. You do it after sketching. After sketching, it often involves building the thing in 3D. A 3D scene gives you then and only then the ability to output large body of work and iteration without having to start from scratch. You can change the lighting direction, the mood, you can put some fog. If you do that in 2D, you're going to take a lot of time. So again, I'm not cheating on 3D. I'm just stating that starting immediately in 3D might not be the best solution depending on what you do. Doing a quick doodle in 2D of the composition to lay out most of the composition, you are saving a ton of time. And then once you are settled on the main idea, that's when you can experiment. Is there a workflow that includes 3D in realistic character concept art, especially generally for sci-fi characters, like with a lot of hard surface? Think Halo, Destiny, The Division. What else? Call of Duty, Infinite Warfare. Things like that, yes. But again, those things that are heavily sci-fi, it's not for juniors. It's very, very complex. So do not put the cart before the wheel. Start where it's accessible. It's very important to understand how the industry works and to respect the hiring process. It's going to sound extremely pedantic, and I apologize, I do not mean any evil about that. Please do not clip me on that and farm me into oblivion for that. But what I see on LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is where I'm making my advertising for the mentorship now, I'm getting exposed to all the misery on LinkedIn, and there is a sense of entitlement that I don't really understand. Like, just because you are an artist and you took the time to make a portfolio, good or bad, it's not the subject, and you took 5 minutes of your time to apply, does not entitle you to be treated like a little princess. It's very important to respect the rules and to stop bitching and whining about, oh my God, I'm a junior, I have zero experience. How comes I'm not working on The Last of Us? Because nobody out of school worked on The Last of Us. And nobody is special enough to do that. And if there is one exception, because it might happen, a little prodigy that is so freaking good it reaches senior level out of school, this is the exception, not the norm. We need to accept that we are not special. My career was not special. I'm a fucking nobody. I had a full career for more than 8 years without that many likes on ArtStation. My portfolio was a mess. I had zero social media presence. That's because I was applying the back burner. Behind the curtain, I didn't need social media. And I was not an exception. I was the norm. I'm not a little prodigy. I just played with the meta of the industry. My work is not good. Even right now, some of my mentees are way better than me. Can you get a junior job without any 3D in the character design portfolio? Of course, yeah, especially for character design. I would actually advocate not using 3D for a junior portfolio for character design. You need to know how to draw and pose the character. Because every time you pose a character in 3D, unless you spend a crap ton of time, it's very stiff. It's lifeless. Next. Also, so we talked about the fact that it was easier to iterate in 3D, and companies may use your 3D base. If it's light, by that I mean optimize, and copyright free, by that I mean with not too much kitbash. So the solution is learn 3D once and only once your 2D skills are getting good. Do not forsake 2D for 3D. Use the best of both. It's not about abandoning 2D for only 3D. It's about utilizing what is allowing you to be the most efficient in 2D and what is allowing you to be the most efficient in 3D, depending on the situation. And please, for the love of your career, model your own assets. It's going to be very important because the next deal breaker is overuse of kitbash. This is an absolute epidemic in the industry. And this has killed careers faster than the layoffs, faster than AI, faster than corporate greed. The community embracing kitbashing on ArtStation and thinking it's the norm has been one of the biggest detriment to aspiring artists trying to get a job. Let's do something simple. When was the last time you saw any kind of trendy kitbash assets like the Knights, the Cowboys, Star Wars kitbash stuff, the Stormtroopers, the post-apocalyptic building that everyone has been using? When is the last time you saw that in a AAA production? Never. The only time you see those is in shitty-ass games like The Day Before that turned out to be a scam game. There's a reason for that. The first one is license and copyright problem. That's why you never see high-quality games with these, only shitty ones. Because copyrights, you don't want to have a copyright strike as a AAA studio because the person that is suing you is going to farm you for millions of dollars. So when you are kitbashing stuff, before sending it to the studio for the 3D modelers to take back the thing, you have to remove everything that has been kitbashed or that is not copyright free. All the quick sell textures, all the blah, 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 that they don't have all the Sketchfab assets, all the big, medium, small assets. You have to remove them because they do not own the license for those assets. So your scene is going to look like shit. It's going to be super empty if you're only using that. But if you do kitbash only, I'm calling to the few artists watching that and probably watching the replay of that video. If you are an artist and most of your work is kitbashing stuff that you have on Mixer, Bridge, Sketchfab, all the big, medium, small asset packs, all the trendy stuff, you are in freaking danger. And you need to change that immediately. And I do not mean that to disrespect you. I want you to get back on that idea of supply and demand. If any dum-dum with 3 weeks of training on Blender, an HDRI and $200 to spare on some asset on the kitbash store can just play Lego and do the same result as you, it means that the worth, at least on the market standpoint, is virtually worthless. Law of supply and demand. So do not be shocked if you don't get a job. Kitbash assets is Legos for artists. It's toy for artists. You don't see that in professional settings. You need to change that immediately. You can use kitbash element from like Bridge, Mixer, big, medium, small for tertiary elements. Anything primary or secondary, if it's kitbashed, your application is dead instantly because you have not designed anything. Let's say you pick like, I don't know, like the Utopia pack from a futuristic pack from kitbash3d.org. Okay, those are beautiful, but we have seen them a gazillion times. So if you put that on your main asset, you claim it's your concept, It's your design. No, you just kitbash something that already exists. You played Legos with it. There's no skill in that, unfortunately. You're not going to be hired because of how well you press render and how well you set up an HDRI. Not for concept art, at least. But of course, nobody is expecting you to model rocks or trees or grass. But again, if a tree or a rock is your main asset, please make it by yourself. And I already imagine some people in the chat being like, what about One Pixel Brush, Terraform, Mood Character, and all the big 3D heavy studios? The little dirty secret is that in every single of the studios, they have a crap ton of 3D artists modeling assets for the concept artists to kitbash them. And Feng Zhu is explaining that flawlessly in his latest video, the 114, about running a studio. So the solution is to model your own asset. It's very important. If example company have three requirements, but my profile matching to requirement, it's not as mathematical as that. They do not have a set list of requirements that can be numbered. It's just guesswork and trying to be as compatible possible as that. But you do not have to be 100% clone of what they do. Otherwise, it's called a fan art. And you're working in someone else's creative footprint. If I had to quantify that with percentile, for whatever that means, but it's an abstract term, do not take it literally. If you are 60 to 70% compatible with the show, that's enough. The 30 to 40% remaining, you need to bring your own voice, your own creativity. You need to stand out. We're going to see that a bit later. Thank you for asking. Good for the lack of 3D skill and overuse of kitbash. Next one, very similar to overuse of kitbash. It's because you absolutely... People who are doing that overuse of kitbash, they are kind of... And again, I mean that with zero disrespect, okay? Folks, if you rely solely on kitbash, you need some help, join the Discord. We're going to help you. I'm saying that to help you with your career, not to bash you. You just need to realize that law of supply and demand, it's not valuable. Generally, people who jump onto kitbash, forget about learning how to model and create assets, forget about 2D and really jump into flashy pictures and rendering. It's very similar to the next deal breaker, which is focusing only on technical skills and making flashy picture. I know it's flattering for the ego. It's very satisfying to make. It can be fast to make. So, you know, let's pick the value equation. Let's try to explain that. I think I explained it last time. This is the value equation by Alex Hormozy. The idea is the perceived value or interest of someone towards a product. The dream outcome multiplied by the perceived likelihood of achievement divided by time delay and the effort and sacrifice. The more you increase the dream outcome and the perceived likelihood of achievement, and the more you decrease the time delay and the effort and sacrifice, the more appealing something is. So let's try to do it for the way we are doing it at the Art Nest and kitbashing shit. Kitbashing shit. Dream outcome, photorealistic render in a few hours. Perceived likelihood of achievement, 100% or very close to that. Time delay, only a few hours, let's say at best a day or two to make a picture. Effort and sacrifice, you do not have to learn how to draw. You barely have to learn how to model shit. You just have to play Legos. Very easy, so very appealing, but very low value. What we do at the Art Nest and what is required in the industry. Dream outcome, pictures that are not so fancy, that won't get you likes on ArtStation, but needs to be done anyways. Perceived likelihood of achievement. As a concept artist, 90% of your work is going to the trash bin. Time delay. You're going to spend a crap ton of time on that picture with a lot of failure before ending up on a good result. Effort and sacrifice. You need to know the fundamentals. You need to know how to design. You need to be able to handle feedback. You need to be able to handle rejection. No wonder nobody is naturally driven towards that. Or almost nobody. So, if you have some questions, keep them for later. I'm going to unfold that thing. I'm going to talk about that later. So, technique today, it's not an argument. It's a given. Technique is easier to access than 10 years ago. 10 years ago, when I got hired in 2016, I got hired for my technique and I had shit level of design. I was very bad at design, but technique was extremely hard to do. Rendering even a block mesh was taking 4 to 6 hours. There was no RTX 4090, there was no Blender, there was no real-time rendering. Unreal was barely a thing. Doing 3D was extremely hard. Doing something realistic in 3D was almost impossible. The Naughty Dog guys just came out of the first Last of Us, and there was no tutorial about their technique, almost no tutorials. And photo bashing, there was no photobash.org. It was barely starting at the time. And nobody knew how to photo bash properly either. I got hired for that because it was rare. My design skills were dog shit. If I was to apply for my portfolio today, I would not even get hired. The portfolio I had in 2016 at least. This is because of technology. RTX 4090 and all of that. It's making it way easier, way accessible. They are lowering the barrier to entry. So it's less valuable because it's more common. It means that the disappearing skill, the ancient knowledge of concept art that Feng Zhu has been talking about for 15 years, like traditional skills, design, entertainment, it has more room to be valuable. And honestly, you may have the best technique in the world. If your content is boring or generic, nobody cares. Guess what? Guess who is able to do extremely boring and generic stuff, but extremely well? AI. You cannot compete against AI on the technique side. AI has won the technique aspect. You can only win against AI on the fields that is dog shit at and is going to need quantum computing to deal with. Design, storytelling, human element, all of that. Feng Zhu has been talking about that in his video 110. A lot of the mentees that we have, they got attention of studios without an incredible technique. They got attention of the studios because their design skills were incredible. Go look at the Artnest Academy Awards. I know that video is long, it takes some time to start, but there's a ton of value in there. In today's era of aspiring artists chasing the flashy picture with portfolio displaying rendering skill and no design work, it makes sensibility, good design, functionality, and a good sense of storytelling even more valuable than it was today, because that's the only criteria left. Especially for concept artists, your job is to help the 3D team model the things you design, not to flex how well you can render stuff. Again, pay close attention to the interview we are doing with Edouard Noisette. It's going to shock you. Solution, focus on design and storytelling rather than a technique. Technique is a tool that you put at the service of design and storytelling. You will get away with bad technique if you have stellar storytelling and design. Edouard Noisette is talking about that with certain artists that they got hired at Ubisoft. Their technique was bad, at least not that great, not as good as you might expect to get hired at Ubisoft. But they were showing a lot of potential regarding design and storytelling. Technique is easy to fix. Ask every mentee that we have. We are barely talking about technique, but just with proper feedback and assessing what needs to be fixed, everyone can level up drastically up to a point that their new work isn't recognizable from the previous one. So this is not to flex the mentorship. This is just to show that technique is very easy to fix. And honestly, technique for the sake of technique is absolutely useless, except for flexing in front of other amateur artists online that will be impressed by that you will never meet in real life, that won't give you a job, and it won't impress pros. So it's just the ego speaking right now. Next. Similar to only technique, this always goes in pair with kitbash and focusing on your technical skill. Only shapes, no function. This is the fault of very cinematic and abstract movies like the stuff from Denis Villeneuve and all of that. Don't get me wrong, I love Denis Villeneuve. But the way people interpret that is that you can have nothing in the picture, just a fucking cube floating in the middle of nowhere, and boom, you are artistic and abstract and so minimalistic. No, your design is shit. And it's crazy because even Shadi from One Pixel Brush is talking about that. He says that he loves minimalistic design. But it's not putting nothing, just an abstract shape in the middle. It's about making sure the message is clear and not polluted by unnecessary detail. And the work that they are doing at Word Mixer Brush is extremely detailed. And still it's minimalistic. So if your design relies solely on shapes and you do not back it by functionality, you are going to design something alien. And that's a big problem. That's a big problem because someone is going to have to model it. If it doesn't make any sense, it's not going to be possible to model it, or else it's going to take a lot of extra effort and time for the 3D modelers, and they will not be able to model the design one-on-one, which is a big problem. And guess what? Again, AI is extremely good at designing abstract shapes with great technique, but it's dog shit at functionality. So again, by just drawing crazy shapes that require little to no fundamental, you're fighting against AI and you have already lost. You're not fighting against the professionals. Explaining how things work, however, it requires a lot of knowledge, a lot of time. AI is unable to do that. It's unable to design a set of grinding gears in a gun, for example, that makes sense. It's going to simulate something that looks somewhat good, but as you zoom on it, it makes no sense. So if you apply the law of supply and demand, you immediately understand what the value is, I guess. So the solution is that everything you are designing must be functional. The 3D team will require it. You need to have call-out sheets explaining how things work, how clothes are layered on the character one by one. You're going to unclose the character, how everything is laid out in that environment with a cutaway drawing. You need to have call-outs for props, material, mechanism. You need to represent them in perspective, not flat front view, perspective. This is what they are paying you for. This is 90% of your work. Getting stuff to work and to be understood by the 3D team. You understand that, you're going to stand out amongst probably more than 90% of your concurrents for a job. Again, everyone is focusing on the flashy pictures and all of that. That's cool. That's not what is going to get you a job. Next. Focusing on the shape and empty content. No storytelling, no entertainment value. Empty content. We need to remember that we are entertainers. Our goal is for the public to feel emotions and relate to the stories and characters and environment that we create. If there is no reaction or the only reaction is, yeah, that's pretty cool, that's badass. Oh, that looks nice. And nothing else, it's not really a compliment. You want people to feel emotional, to have an immediate reaction. Be like, oh, that's disgusting. Oh my God, that's so scary. Or to laugh when seeing yourself like, and that's amazing. That's the kind of stuff you want to see. Again, go check the Artnest Academy Awards. We are talking about that. You want to spark that emotion because you are an entertainer. Otherwise, your content is boring and you might have the best technique in the world. If the content is boring, or not really original, very generic, what's the point? If hiring junior is a huge liability for studios, should we expect all studios to stop hiring junior altogether? No. That's how angry people on LinkedIn want to think. What about that? Instead of thinking that you are dead and they are not going to hire juniors anymore because they are a liability, you ask yourself, why are juniors considered a liability? And you try to fix that. Let me give you the answer. Juniors are considered a liability because they are doing most of those deal breakers. So if you fix that and you make sure that you prove you understand production with your portfolio, that you prove you understand what are the liabilities they might see, and you fix that, so you don't have liability, that's how you stand out. That's how you reassure the studio. And that's how you get a job. For any of those problems, and again, this is not say that, I do not say that in a patronizing way or pedantic way. It's very important to remember that there is always a way to see it with the glass being half empty or half full. And a lot of people complaining want to see it half empty. Like, oh my God, they are not hiring juniors anymore. Ask yourself why. Why are they not hiring junior anymore in the first place? Oh, that's because juniors, they are doing the kitbash shit and all those problems. So what about fixing that? So you stand out amongst 99% of artists and maybe you even skip junior level. Wink, wink. I know it sounds very arrogant. That's how it works. And yeah, social skills, we're going to talk about that. There's going to be the huge focus starting on January in the mentorship. I'm going to build a new module for that. How we figure out no design or bad design in art? Look at what's trending on ArtStation. Look at the stuff you have seen a gazillion times on ArtStation. That's generally no design or bad design, generally. Or more precisely, identify a trend on ArtStation. Okay? A few years ago, it was Last of Us 2. Then it was Ghost of Tsushima. Now, currently, I think the trend is Arcane. Look at what the creators of Arcane have been doing and look at what all the trend chasers are trying to do. Try to identify the difference. Those difference, what it's lacking in all those trend chasers, this is bad design. And bad design is what doesn't fit the story and gameplay. Exactly. This is something that is not compelling. Something that you just act like, yeah, okay, that's cool. Next webinar, we're going to see what is good taste and bad taste in that case, because I know a lot of artists do not like to hear that. It's again, it sounds pedantic, and I'm used to sounding pedantic, and people know I'm not. But a harsh truth that a lot of artists do not want to hear is not every taste is equal, and not everyone has good taste. However, you can develop good taste. Of course, it's subjective, but empty content, we can universally agree that it's not very tasty. And again, the problem is that you're fighting against AI. AI is good at making flashy pictures, but it has no emotion. Again, look at AI picture. Anyone in the chat right now can tell there is something missing when you see an AI picture. And if there was that little bit of soul, maybe it could be interesting. Putting aside all the controversies surrounding AI and the ethics of it. Imagine the technical execution of AI, especially now that you can put 5 fingers on a hand, and you implement a little soul. Taste is a skill. Exactly. That's what I'm teaching in the preparatory module of the mentorship. Taste is a skill, and it's about asking yourself the right questions. It has always been a skill. Taste, storytelling, design, it's not some magic voodoo shit like a lot of artists are trying to say just because they are unable to explain it. Design, skills, storytelling, it's about asking yourself the right question before you start drawing. The what, the why, the who, all of that. And trying to expand on that. And again, you want a good video about that? Thanks to this video 111, The Spirit of Entertainment Design. This is exactly what I've been saying right there. You need to brainstorm a lot. That's the solution. You need to make sure your design sparks an immediate emotional response, not just, oh, cool, that's well done. You want to check good YouTube channel? Check out Like Story of Old, Nerdwriter 1. Now You See It, Storytellers. Those YouTube channels are very, very good. Have a look at those on YouTube. You're going to learn a lot about storytelling. Especially Like Story of Old and Now You See It. We need to think about composition. Composition, Framed Ink is a good start. Narrative Concept Art by Jama is a good start. Not affiliated, by the way. Learn Squared, give me an affiliate link. Because I probably send you so many artists. You probably made 5 to early 6 figures thanks to the Art Nest. Send me an affiliate link, please. Next, still talking about brainstorming, lack of research, and the work is not grounded. Again, work being abstract, only shapes, no function. That's exactly the same side of the coin. The problem is that generally it's with artists who want to be 100% original, OC don't steal. They forget about every kind of logic, and every time they design something alien and abstract because they want it to be so original that they forget about picking references. Their design is non-functional, it makes no sense. It's just shapes and no function, it's abstract all the time. Nobody can understand that. And remember that a confused reviewer is always going to turn down your application. And again, AI is super good at that. You need to make things that are functional and based on reality. AI cannot make functional stuff. I know that searching for references on Google is becoming hard because of AI. You can filter out AI by screening anything after 2021. You can also use other browser. You can use Yandex, for example. Yandex, it's a Russian browser. It's extremely good to find photos. There's not that much AI. The type of photos and the color of the photos that you get are night and day with the shit you find on Google or Pinterest. It's very good. Also, to search for references, look at documentaries, look at travel blogs, depending on what you're searching for. Not everything has to be a picture. Again, podcast with Edouard Noisette, coming soon, coming before or just after Christmas. It's going to talk about that. Art book, furniture books, yeah. Alex, you're going to absolutely love the interview with Edouard, I think. He's going to explain a lot of the research they were doing on Assassin's Creed. Let's put the controversies around Assassin's Creed Shadows on the side. Their research work on the previous Assassin's Creed has been absolutely stellar. And they are such mega big nerds about certain detail that nobody is going to catch up on. It's crazy. Edouard is such a big history nerd. You're going to love it, Alex. So the solution, everything you design must come from a reference from the real world. Stop guessing, reference everything. And you need to mix reference together. Let's say you want to design a belt. Pick a reference from a belt for the functionality and pick maybe an Art Nouveau pattern for the engravings on it and mix them together. That's an example I give to the mentees all the time. Imagine French Renaissance type of clothing, like the courtesans of the king, mixed with goldfish. That's how you create an interesting idea. The Russian browser is called Yandex. I just wrote it in the chat right now. Good for you. Next, following trends. This has been my lifelong, unextinguishable stock of memes on LinkedIn. Come on. This is a public announcement, a public service announcement for every artist trying to look for a job, for the sake of your portfolio, for the love of your time, for the love of your life, for the love of all the sweat and tears and blood you spend on your portfolio trying to apply. Stop following the trends. Trends are not trendy. Exactly. If you follow a trend, you are too late. It doesn't show your uniqueness. It just shows that you are a little sheep following the trendy movement to be hip in front of strangers that you will never meet, that you just know from the internet. It doesn't show your voice as an artist, and you need to show your voice as an artist to get hired. The only trend is cats, exactly. I know it sounds like your favorite red pill influencer, like your Andrew Tate. Stop being a sheep, escape from the matrix, bro. But this is the ArtStation matrix. We have been talking about that in one of the first live. If something is trending on ArtStation, you know there is no job in that shit. As simple as that. So avoid anything that has been trending a bit. Otherwise, it's going to spark oh shit, another one effect. The reviewer sees that and he's like, oh shit, another one. Another Last of Us 2 fan art. Another Ghost of Tsushima wannabe fanboy. Another one that is copying Arcane. You have no idea of how many times we see that when reviewing portfolios, either for the mentorship or even more at jobs. It was some people from One Pixel Brush that were telling me that they were fucking hating the guts of people who were showing Last of Us 2 fan arts when applying to One Pixel Brush. Yeah, trends are for fun. That's fine. You want to do it for fun? Sure, do it. Post it on ArtStation. It's very good to collect likes on ArtStation. You do a fan art of Baldur's Gate on a commission page when Baldur's Gate was released, you're going to get commissions if it's well done. Trends are good to get followers or commissions. But it's not that good to get a job. And the reason is, let's see all the big trends. Let's pick Asian stuff. Ancient Asia, like samurai, ancient China, ancient Japan, things like that. We got Nioh 1 and 2. We got Sekiro. We got Ghost of Tsushima. We are going to get Assassin's Creed Shadows. We got Wukong. I'm pretty sure we got a gazillion other games in that settings. I think people are a bit fed up with ancient Japan, for a few years at least. Post-apocalyptic. We got Fallout. The Fallout series. We got Last of Us. We got The Longest Winter. We got so many stuff that are post-apocalyptic. Again, it's me to the ground. Vikings, Game of Thrones, Skyrim, starting to be a bit old. God of War, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Nobody gives a shit about Vikings anymore. We have seen them so much time. One Pixel Brush is doing something about Vikings too. I wish them good. I think it's going to be great. Shelly is a fantastic creative director. He knows this shit. He's been 10 years ahead of the industry all the time. You see my point? You really need to see any kind of settings, any kind of trendy subject like agricultural soil. If it has been milked into oblivion by everyone, you need to let it rest for a few years before it becomes fertile again. And if it's trendy, if everyone is doing, if you have seen it a gazillion times, you are easily replaceable. You can pick someone for cheaper in a cheaper country to do the same stuff. So even if you get a job, you are easily replaceable. You're setting yourself at a massive risk right now. Oh my God. I'm ruffling the feathers of everyone right now. I don't know if I should apologize. I know I'm going to ruffle some feathers. Again, this is not to disrespect you folks. This is to just awaken you to the absurdity of the situation the industry is in right now, at least on the applicant side. This is absolutely absurd. I know people are struggling to get jobs, but people are doing so much shit that doesn't work. It's been 10 years that we know that it doesn't work, and still people keep doing it. And a lot of pros, a lot of big voice in the industry have been acting like everybody knew it was not working and pretending it was not an issue for so long because it was taboo. Do you want to be the asshole in front of everyone? No, you don't want to be the asshole, you know? But let's stop with toxic positivity for a second. Let's start giving actionable advice to people again. I'm so glad that Feng Zhu and Tyler Edlin and Andy Walsh are finally starting to open up about that. We need more voices like that instead of the feel-good bullshit, like follow your heart and yeah, do what you like. Okay, you can do what you like. What about doing what you like and something that is compatible with the industry at the same time? It does not take that much more energy. You just need to take the time to think about that and go through a bit of friction. And just realize that art, okay, it's art, but it's also a job. It abides by the rules of business. So, those settings, I saw that Alex was asking, what about whatever specific period? Yes, potentially. Make sure it's niche enough. You want to go for post-apocalyptic? Bring a mega big twist to it. But do not do abandoned buildings covered in grass and shit. And yeah, the real ruffled feathers are not getting higher, and that's the problem. That's the big problem. And then they keep whining on LinkedIn and discouraging everyone from applying, and they are spreading doom and gloom, and it's not helping anyone, and it gets everyone to feel depressed and feel like shit, and that's how we end up in that current situation, where everyone thinks the industry is dead, while in the reality, 99% of people are not doing what was needed to get hired in the first place, so no wonder they don't get a job, and they blame it on anything but themselves. Feng Zhu has been talking about everything I'm saying for 15 years. It's been there for 15 years. The knowledge is there. It's not secret. It's not a secret cabal conspiring against the artist. It's not corporate greed. It's not AI. The knowledge is there. It's just that people are chasing trend and the shiny objects rather than going for the old grandpa of concept art, the godfather of concept art, who is not very entertaining, but spilling so much truth. It just gave me an idea. I'm not going to talk about that. I want to spark a little surprise about that. I got a crazy idea regarding things. By the way, Feng, if you ever watch that video, I want to make a podcast with you. You are my podcast target for the year. I really want you in a podcast. I want the most unhinged podcast with you ever made. Remember how you ripped apart the portfolios at IAMAG? I want you to do the same live. I want the truth to be spilled. Not to be disrespectful, and you're so respectful, Feng, but the message needs to be heard. More and more, we need to hammer the mind of people with that. It's crazy. Just crazy. So yeah, before starting a project, do your research. Has it been done a gazillion times? It might be hard to find something original, but it's very easy to avoid something done that has been done a 50 gazillion times. Anything that is trending on the front page of ArtStation, do not consider that like portfolio material. It's too late. And also avoid having a portfolio looking like a collection of Gumroad tutorials. Like, okay, you followed this artist and that artist and that artist, and you can tell exactly which one. What are some genres that you believe are not seen often since you mentioned post-apocalyptic and so on? What about Art Nouveau, Art Deco, Napoleon War, Ancient Greece? I know we got Assassin's Creed Odyssey, but that's it. Egypt. Napoleon War, French Revolution. Non-Polish Slavic culture, like a Croatian, something like that. What about old books like Jules Verne's books, The Three Musketeers, Count of Monte Cristo, Swashbuckler adventure like The Princess Bride? Anything Gothic or Victorian that is not Edgar Allan Poe or Tim Burton bullshit. African stuff, provided you have material diversity. That's the only little issue I see on the design point with ancient African stuff is, and again, I'm not the expert about that, so please don't crucify me in the comment about that, is that generally you want to see a lot of, how can I say, slightly technological stuff, and it has been primal for a long time, let's say. I mean that with zero disrespect. I'm working on Excel right now. And also market demand. I don't know if there is a big market demand for African influence stuff, but I'm pretty sure if a studio was doing it very well and not to push whatever agenda, people would be super hyped about that. Retro sci-fi in Africa would be crazy good. I completely agree with that. But it needs to be done with taste. That's the problem. Otherwise, you will have all the basement dweller saying, oh my God, it's too false, whatever agenda, and blah, 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 blah. And you will have the war between the two camps of basement dweller terminally online on the internet. But yeah, retro sci-fi Africa with solarpunk, I want to see something like that. It would be so cool. All right, that's about following trends. Next, lack of variety / one-trick ponies. Only designing castle, only designing post-apocalyptic, only designing whatever, one bullshit, stuff like that. And yeah, I agree with Matt. Industrial Revolution, Arabic Golden Age, Byzantine Empire, First Colonies, Aztec, RPG in the Mongol Empire. That would be so freaking cool. Let's call this, we probably push African trade. We don't even know where it is. It's so weird. I would like elsewhere with the Khajiit, but it's never going to happen. Like Arabian influenced. I would like to see an Arabian influence in Elder Scrolls, like with Oasis and all of that, with Khajiits, Red Guards. So freaking cool. It would be so freaking cool. So yeah, one-trick ponies is that you are only doing one thing. You are only doing one type of robots. Only doing female characters. Only doing pinups. Only doing knights. Only doing dragons, no other creatures. It's good to be niche, but being a one-trick pony might be a problem. Because you might be a super duper big expert on that, and if a studio badly needs you, they might want you very bad. That's amazing. But for most studio, it's not going to justify hiring you full-time. So you might just chain a few gigs here and there. And it might lead to a very precarious situation. Unless you are extremely, extremely good at what you do. You pick Marnix, for example, who was talking before. He's a hard surface designer. He's a concept designer doing spaceships and guns and all of that. He specializes in that. But you see, I said spaceships, vehicles, guns. It's not just spaceships, you know. Solution. There is always that question that I receive a gazillion time when applying to the mentorship or even on the Discord is, how do I know if I need to be specialist or generalist? And the answer is very simple. It's going to depend on the studios you are aiming at. And the way to figure that out is that you pick the studios you are aiming at. You check the games or the movies they worked on. You check the artists who worked on those projects. You go check their art station. I was talking about the LinkedIn, seeing if they have been hired at a studio with more or less than 3 years of experience before. That's for the junior friendly, but also look at their art station. If their work is generalist, assume the studio wants you to be generalist. If they are all specialists, assume the studio wants you to be specialist. If you find both at the same studio, assume they are okay with any of them. That's pretty much it. As a rule of thumb, when you're working in a production studio, let's say Sony Santa Monica, Ubisoft, all of that, they generally want you to be having one strong skill, but still being somewhat generalist. When you're working in a concept art studio, they generally want you to be specialist. When you want to work in the movie industry in the US, first of all, you need to be in the US. They generally want you to be somewhat specialist. You want to work in the movie industry in Europe, you need to be excellent at everything. Does every portfolio piece needs to be in different eras or universe, or can you work on a single universe and apply inspiration from different ones? I would advise you to work on at least one IP for a long time on your portfolio, because it shows that you are able to remain consistent across different subjects within the same IP. Oh, shit. I mean, look at the studio. Do they require you to be generalist? If yes, you need to be good at both character and environment. If you're good at only one of them, apply to studios that are only requiring you to be good at one of them. All right, that's it. Next thing, it's more portfolio thing. Scattered portfolio. It's all over the place. You have 15 different subjects. That's exactly what we were talking just before. 50 different subjects that have nothing in common. It's a collection of Gumroad tutorial. It looks like a mess. And the problem is that we don't know what you like. We don't know what you are good at. And the problem is that because you have 15 different projects, only a fraction of your portfolio will always be relevant to the studio, and most of the rest is going to be irrelevant. So you are shooting yourself with the whole magazine when applying. By trying to please everyone, you end up pleasing no one. It's a one-size-fits-none. The solution is to curate your portfolio and specialize. I would say at least 70% of your portfolio on one specialty and on similar content to what the companies you are aiming at are doing. You are aiming at Assassin's Creed, have at least 70% of your portfolio being historical. As simple as that. Another problem that is very similar to scatter portfolio is over-bloated portfolio. It's unorganized, it's non-curated. You have 7 years worth of artwork, so it's like 100 of artworks on ArtStation. You send that and you are like, hey guys, make your way through it, try to figure it out. Next candidate, immediately. The solution is to create your work and have a portfolio album on ArtStation. On ArtStation, you create an album, you call it portfolio, you send the link towards this album rather than your full ArtStation profile. You put 5 or 6 projects, not just pictures, project. A project is several pictures at the same time in it. That's enough. It's a curated portfolio that is relevant to the company you are applying at. And all the rest, you put it in another album called Old Work. This way they have the context that it's old work and it's not application material. Next, AI. I guess I don't really have to elaborate on why it's a deal breaker. Next, no social skills. Oh my God. I know we are introverts. I know we are social freaks. I'm the first one being like that. I could spend 3 months without seeing a human being and being totally fine. But our job is requiring us to deal with clients all the time. It's very client-facing. You're going to deal with clients, with colleagues, art directors, recruiters. You have to send email. You have to be outgoing. If you are standing in your basement expecting people to miraculously find your work and serve you the job of your dream on a silver plate, you're going to wait for a long time, or else you need a lot of experience and a lot of presence on LinkedIn so a recruiter contact you. You need to force that and you need to be outgoing. You also need to be able to receive feedback properly without grinding, without crying. So you cannot be too precious about your work. A lot of artists, and that's what I was talking about with all those people blaming everything, but never blaming themselves. Blaming the corporate greed, the industry being broken, and blah, 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 blah. Sure, this industry is in turmoil, but there is so much more that they can do that they do not do because they refuse to face a mirror. They are precious about their work. They have the ego playing against them. If you are in that situation, if you are reluctant to feedback, if you are unable to look at yourself in the mirror, you need to change that, because if a recruiter discovers that, they won't hire you. There's always a reason and a time to blame HR, though. Yeah, I agree. But not for your portfolio being shit. You can blame HR once you are hired in studios, or for the shitty ass posts they do on LinkedIn, generally. Oh my God, I'm installing a ballpark at the studio because I care about the well-being of people. No, just let them go early back home once their work is done. That's going to be better than any ballpark and espresso machines. So yeah, collaboration is key in the job. So you need, I'm not telling you to become an extrovert and go to parties, but at least please do not be a social dork. Also, yeah, you cannot be too precious because most of your work is going to go to the trash bin. It's part of the process. You have to fail at design to figure out the good one. Do not expect to land the perfect design on the first try. The solution is to get over it, be a nice person. It's about dropping the ego, and you need to remember that collaboration happens at the top, competition happens at the bottom. If you are insecure, if you think that sharing your tips and all of that is going to put yourself in danger because people are going to take our jobs, you know, they took our jobs. You are the bottom. That's not how it works in the industry. It's very collaborative. You need to help people and you need to lift them up. That's also why I've launched that mentorship. I'm launching people up. I'm helping people because I know in the future, those people, once they are rock stars in the industry, if I need any kind of help, they would be willing to help me immediately. Hello, Kitty. It's been a while since you've been on stream. How are you doing, buddy? Look at that. That's a cat intermission. Hello. Look at how big he is now. He was 3 months old last time. Now he's almost 5 months old. Hello, buddy. He's the happiness manager of the artness. He's installing naps and tuna cans and toys and more naps to everyone in the artnest. His name is Vega, but I call him Little Gremlins or Little Goblin. Will this be recorded? Yes. Yeah, no, that's for the click. That's for the miniatures, I guess. So yeah, it's about dropping the ego overall. Next, similar to social skill, no emotional control or conflict resolution skills. For the love of your career, do not engage with dramas, rants, outrage, or any kind of negativity online or in the industry, but especially online. Again, I know I've been ranting about angry people on LinkedIn all the time. That's for a reason. Those people who are calling names, insulting studios, trying to say, oh my God, it's corporate greed and capitalism and blah, 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 whatever reason, engaging in every single drama related to the industry or not. Rest in fucking peace, American people, because you got the US election that year. And everyone was having a meltdown about everything. They don't even realize how much damage that they are doing to their career, and it might be irreparable. Okay, let's do that exercise. Close your eyes, take a deep breath. Imagine yourself, you are a recruiter at a studio. You stumbled upon, let's say, 300 applications that you have to review that afternoon. 99% of it is absolute dog shit, or not relevant, or a collection of Gumroad tutorial or keyframes that have nothing to do with what you are requiring. And suddenly, the holy grail, you find someone that is doing the right type of work you are looking for. And then suddenly, you're like, oh my God, I want it. You send it to the HR, and the HR tells you, hey, that person has been engaging with dramas, ranting, insulting people, calling names, calling people Nazis, doxing people online, spreading outrage and hatred about our company on LinkedIn for the last 3 years. Do you think that person is going to get hired? Probably not. Because you have built a precedent of being outraged and engaging with drama and attracting negativity to you. And the problem, I understand what you mean, Alex. Personally, I wouldn't care if the person is good. Sure. But the studio will care. Because if you have been building a precedent of engaging with drama, if they hire you, they assume you're going to keep doing the same, this time with the company name in their bio. And look at what happened at Obsidian Entertainment with that absolute idiot of an art director that decided to absolutely destroy the hard work of all Obsidian Entertainment with a few tweets. Got Microsoft stock price to tank and to lose dozens of millions of dollars just for freaking tweets. Any studio, HR or not, it's not even about HR, it's about team building. Nobody wants to hire an emotional grenade with little legs that has been unpinned, that is ticking, and that is going to explode at any time in the studio. Be very careful about that. I know everyone would like to be vocal about stuff. I'm just a messenger. I'm not telling you to not being vocal or be partisan of certain things. I am also on certain aspects that I will not mention. I'm just telling you that if you care about your career, do not engage with drama, negativity, rants, anything online, because you're going to pay a hefty price for that. It's not urban, exactly. If you are very, very stubborn, you can keep engaging with those discourse and activism and all of that. Do it on a burner account that is quarantined from your main account under an alias or pseudonym, and that is absolutely impossible to trace back to your main account. Be smart, please. Because in the industry, everyone knows each other. The industry is super small, and I could tell you the story of at least 3 or 4 French concept artists who were extremely famous, who decided to engage themselves into whatever kind of activism, destroyed their career with that, and have zero work now. Your reputation is so freaking important online. It's one of the most precious resource you have. It's like branding. Your branding is the compilation of your work and how you behave online. You look at the branding of Leo Avro, for example. Fantastic work. Super funny guy sharing super funny memes all the freaking time. What else do you want? You pick Dark Sasuke 69 on LinkedIn. Good work, complaining all the time about how the industry is fucked and how it's bad to be an artist and blah, 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 and ranting and typing probably under some substance abuse. Not a good branding. The art director from Obsidian Entertainment, who openly say that he discriminated at employment and that he don't want certain type of people to play the game, who did irreparable damages to Microsoft and the product they've been working on. First of all, people at Obsidian Studio might like him very much now. And this guy destroyed his reputation and is not going to find any other jobs. And also, yes, Janice, let's be practical for a second. When was the last time an argument online changed someone's mind? Most of the time, people online just self-conglomerate with each other by thinking and reinforcing the shitty ass belief. Like, yeah, you're so right, bro. The industry is so fucked, bro. Yeah. Corporate greed, bro. You're so fucking right. Oh my God. Again, everyone is entitled to think what they want to think. I'm not questioning the argument. Okay? I'm not questioning the ideas. Yes, sometimes people are open to discussion, but is social media a place to discuss about this? At least LinkedIn, not fully sure. Twitter, certainly not. I don't know. It's up to personal preferences. I know everyone has views, and I would also like certain things to be different. But I don't know. It's just about being smart about reputation. Do I know Quentin Gabriel? Only by name. I would love to talk with him and to have a podcast with him. If you know him, feel free to get us in touch, by the way. Quentin, if you want to do a podcast together, it would be a pleasure to meet you, to prepare it, to talk about whatever you want to talk that is close to your heart, and talk about that. So yeah, solution. Adopt a smooth and polite attitude that doesn't cause trouble. Doesn't mean... It means... Okay, not engaging with toxic stuff, and also avoid toxic positivity. That's the opposite. So being like, yeah, everyone is amazing, bro. You're so good. Your work is amazing, but it looks like shit, but it's amazing, bro. No. You can remain honest while being still constructive. Stay away from dramas. I'm always, that's just personal, but I'm always thinking not in my control, not my problem. It's not that I want to be indifferent to any problem happening in the world. We have a lot at the moment. It's just that if it's not in my control, there's no reason I drink the poison wishing someone else's die. I'm not going to make my life even more miserable for something I cannot do anything about that. It's going to just be mental noise generally. It's not being insensitive. Bad stuff is bad. Oh my God, I'm being so obvious right now. Bad stuff is bad. It should not happen. But me tweeting about that is not going to change anything. And honestly, nobody cares about everyone's opinion online. Enough about that debate. You see, we are even having an argument about if people can have an argument online. That's the Ouroboros happening right now. The last one that is very, very common too. Hello, kitty. Hello. How are you doing, buddy? You want to climb? He's going to climb on my laps. Yep. Here we go. I'm having my assistant right now. So, the last thing that is a big deal breaker is the chore list feeling from your work / no personality from it. Again, Feng Zhu explains that very well in his video, The Spirit of Entertainment Design. He's explaining that today a lot of artists look like they are in an endless grind mode instead of having fun doing art. They do art for the sake of ticking a ton of imaginary boxes in their head instead of just chasing their own imagination and being mega nerds about what they are drawing. Again, chasing trends, are you chasing that trend because you really like it or just because you like the prestige associated with it? That's an example. I see a lot of people doing Last of Us 2 fan art that look like they absolutely despise their work. Why are you doing it in the first place in that case? Oh, thank you, Dark Dog. That would be amazing. You need to remember that whatever feeling you have when doing your pictures, people will feel the same when consuming them. If you hate that moment that you are making your picture, people will hate consuming your work. And you are less likely to be hired because you, on a recruiter standpoint, and this is art director mindset, this is not HR right there. If an art director feels that you hate, that you are suffering when making your work, they are not going to hire you because they're going to be like, okay, this person is going to do a burnout. This person is going to be complaining a lot and affecting the morale of the colleagues and the team negatively. And nobody wants to hire a depressed shit poster. On the other side, if you love your work, if you are showing that you are having fun and enjoying the process, if your work is good, you are having a massive argument in your favor because they know if you are enjoying that so much, that you're having so much fun, you are less prone to burnout. You're going to positively increase the morale of the colleagues, and positive people tend to attract positive results. So the solution is not like your work, it's just try to find subject that you are mega nerds about, that speak to you, that influence you when you were kids, and focus on that. Stop chasing trend, stop chasing the prestige. I've been in call with so many kids that year who are like, yeah, I would like to work at Naughty Dog or One Pixel Brush. And you start digging a bit, they don't even know why. You start digging even more. You start really questioning the beliefs, the deep beliefs underneath. At the end, they admit, yeah, actually, that's just because it's prestigious and I want to prove myself. And it looks big and fancy. It's like being attached to a brand, to a logo, to like a Nike or Hugo Boss or Chanel or Louis Vuitton logo. It's the same mechanism. And you can see that very obviously on ArtStation. You see two equivalent artwork. One of them, equivalent style, equivalent content could be part of the same project. One of them is having a Blizzard logo. The second one is having no logo. I can guarantee you that the one with the Blizzard logo is going to have more likes. So stop chasing trend. Pick stuff that talk about your culture, what you like to nerd about, commit to it, and have fun. That's pretty much it for today's presentation. I will stay maybe 10 more minutes for questions, if you have any. Let's talk about that. What are some techniques for finding those smaller companies that aren't plastered over LinkedIn and social media? Game Dev Map. GameDevMap.com. Thank you, Alex. What is compelling image? How it's look like? We're going to make a presentation about that next time. It's going to be the next one, and it's going to stay up. Similarly, that presentation is going to stay up. That's treat that like a little Christmas gift. It's normally the script from a video from the mentorship. Let's give it to you for free. As always, if you want to join the mentorship, we have the class from January that are being filled up very fast. You have the link, theartnest.academy/portfolio guide. You watch the video, you apply to a call, and we can review that. I will make a few calls during the vacations for Christmas. Next class is starting on January 25th. Any tips for doing stuff like studio like Lion and not knowing what direction they're going in with the future, and doing stuff like Baldur's Gate will be too dated for them now? It's always the same. It's about understanding the art direction, then understanding the process of execution, and then trying to create a portfolio that is somewhat similar. Not an advertising for the mentorship, but go watch the video at theartnest.academy/portfolio guide. It's going to tell you exactly how to do it, how to understand their art direction, how to understand their technique, and how to build something similar. The knowledge is free. The only thing I'm selling is my time to do it with you guys, to do it hopefully successfully and as close as possible to the first try as possible. What's your opinion about students' work from Toart Studio? I don't know the studio, and out of ethic, I would probably not comment on that. So I don't know about that studio. Do you have any advice for approaching the thumbnailing process in a concept art piece? How many thumbnails in general are good enough? I feel that sometimes it's hard to come up with originals. You need to brainstorm a lot. You need to brainstorm a lot. You know what? I'm going to give you a little Christmas gift, folks. All the streams I've been doing so far, I'm going to put them back online for the vacations. Because that question you were asking about thumbnailing, it's directly tied to brainstorming, and you will heavily benefit from having the brainstorming webinar. Would you be happy if I'm putting all the webinars we have been doing so far online on YouTube for the vacations? Okay. Okay. I'm going to see if I can put them back on YouTube, because I might keep some stuff private. I will create a link. Join the Discord. Make sure you have the hashtag everyone activated, at least in the announcement channel, and check that out. I'm going to prepare that for you this weekend. Sounds good? It's going to be on my website rather than on YouTube, or probably both. I'm going to see, but I'm going to announce when it's available. Okay, I'm going to check with my my mentor how I can deal with that. But let's consider that as a little Christmas gift. How should the portfolio be divided in percentile having creature, characters, and props? I will say, for characters, creatures, and props, I will say 60% characters, 20% props, and let's say 60% character, 20 to 30% props. And by props, I mean the equipment of the character, costume design, equipment, 2D abilities, things like that. And the remaining 20%, roughly, creatures. That's the way I will do it. Why stand out as a freelancer? I'm building a new portfolio, but I'm still struggling about the type of production work and how to approach companies and be visible. Same thing as the other person who asked it, the artness.academy/portfolio guide. Go watch that video, apply that to freelancing. Pick a set of companies, niche in it, do similar work, understand how they do it, and niche in that. That's pretty much it. Oh, Nisyang, hope you are doing well, buddy. We are working together in a startup up to last year. I hope you are doing well, buddy. Let's say I feel guilty not working right now. Guys, I told you in the mentorship, please take a rest. I don't want you to burn out. You've been working so fucking hard like a motherfuckers until now. You deserve a rest. Go play Path of Exile. Go play Baldur's Gate. If someone from the mentorship wants to play Baldur's Gate, by the way, hit me up. I'm saving Path of Exile for this summer when my girlfriend is done with a year. And we're going to discover it together. But Baldur's Gate, I want to play Baldur's Gate with people. And I want to play Path of Exile. I want to play a witch. It seems so freaking cool. Any other questions, folks? Yeah, I know it's great. I have no doubt about that. But I would like to make a multiplayer Baldur's Gate game these vacations. Do you think it's possible to create a long-term career in a studio, to climb the rank and stay there in these times and in the future? It's totally doable. However, it will be the subject for a whole discussion and a whole other stream. Even if you like the studio, even if it's the studio of your dream, I will always advise you to keep searching for job and building opportunities in case that studio collapses or experiences a wave of layoffs. So many people who are working at big studios like Ubisoft, Blizzard, Riot got laid off after working for 15 years there. They were comfortable. You cannot fault them for being comfortable. But when you soften up and stop searching for jobs, you always have that little voice in your head telling you, hey, if you lose that job, you're in deep shit. So pick your poison. Do you want to relax and have that little voice poisoning your mind? Or do you want to just do a bit of maintenance, maybe 30 minutes a week, to keep networking, searching for opportunities, and that voice vanishes, and maybe you will find an even better opportunity that you can get. Or plan B if you lose that first one. That's my question. And a lot of people learned the very hard way in the last 2 years about that. So I advise everyone, it's not about being disloyal to the company, it's about being safe. You get a job. I know some contracts prevent you from applying to the company. Nothing prevents them from applying to you, and nothing prevents you from networking with people. So to climb the ranks, it's doable. It's just that the progression is going to be a bit slower than if you were to change jobs after a few years. It's totally doable. And a little tip that I can give to everyone, if you are working in a studio. Okay, here is a tip. If you are working in a studio and you want an increase in salary, responsibility, or become irreplaceable, you're going to visit every different workers in different divisions. You're going to visit a few coders, a few 3D artists, a few level artists, a few level designers, a few writers, tech artists, riggers, animators, VFX guys, and such. You're going to maybe have a cup of coffee with them during the break or something like that, and you're going to ask them, hey, when you have to deal with our concept art, what are the struggles you're experiencing with our concept art? And what do you wish was done differently or better so it could help you do your job faster and easier? You're going to let them open up. You're going to gather all that data. You're going to implement it in your work silently without telling anyone. It should not cost you more time or energy to implement that, by the way. It's going to make your process super solid. And people will start loving you at the studio. People will start praising you, saying, hey, that guy is saving us so much time all the time. Every time we have this concept, we know it's going to be easy. At some point, people in your team are going to pick up the pattern. You're like, hey, how do you do that? And that's why you share the secret. That's why you look like a freaking genius by just doing what a studio normally composed should do regularly, which is assessing the need and gripes of everyone and making something constructive out of that. And yeah, HR don't like the job hopper. So if every 6 months you change job, unless you're a freelancer, yeah, that's not good. But if it's like every 2 years, who cares? That's how you climb the ranks. What do you mean by networking 30 minutes a week? Contacting people, not showing work, but contacting people, contacting recruiter, establishing genuine relationships, sending emails, going to events, attending webinars, joining Discord communities, doing maybe lives, things like that. Sharing some work on social media, sharing other artists' work, commenting their posts, engaging in genuine discussion, commenting on their stuff, things like that. Getting known, being seen. Junior campaign for mid-level 2D concept art job? Yeah, why not? If your work is good enough. The difference between junior and mid-level is just the quality of your work. It's not your experience. Senior level, yeah, it might be different because you might be expected to mentor junior level. So you need to understand all the intricacies of everything. Mid or junior level, there's no difference except the quality of your work. You can skip junior level if your work is phenomenal and really nails the production pipeline process. What do you think is the best online platform to get freelance work or concept art? Spontaneous application, cold email, and following up 6 or 7 times. Not in a week, but maybe you send a follow-up after 3 days, then after a week, then after 2, then after 3, then after a month. And you always bring new work. You never appear needy, you appear respectful. So it's not about platforms. Do not gamble on the platform because you're expecting people to find you. Go aggressively apply to people. That's what I say all the time to the mentees, and that's what we are going to build even more on starting on January. We're going to build up even more of a system so they can apply aggressively all the fucking time. Isn't it too pushy? No, because you're invading their professional space, not their personal space. And there's a way to answer that. If you say, hey, motherfucker, read my email, yeah, it's going to be pushy. If it's like, hey, have you seen my email? Again, it sounds needy. Hey, I'm reaching out to you again just to check if you have reached my email. By the way, I've done that and that and that. Feel free to have a look. Feel free to tell me what you think. Looking forward to your answer. After 5 or 6 emails like that, showing that you are always bringing something new to the table, they're going at least to give you a read. It's not being pushy. You're invading their professional time. Is LinkedIn considered as a professional email? The problem with LinkedIn, depending on who you send message to, is that a professional platform, yeah, it's a professional platform, but at the same time, depending on who you contact, let's say you contact a recruiter or an art director, their inbox is a disaster zone. It's spammed with desperate people. That's why you need to follow up a lot. Because a lot of people are like, hey, bro, do you have a job? Here's my portfolio. Give me a shot, please. Me included, I'm receiving a fuck ton of them because I have I have an art director title in a former job. And so many people are like, hey, give me a chance, please. Do a hire? No. So that's why following up is important, because people who are desperate like that, they are just spamming everyone and they are never following up. How many minutes art director for portfolio? Most of the time, for 99% of artists, less than a minute. Only 30 seconds is enough to disqualify them. If it's good, 5 minutes. It's enough to get you hired. But most stuff, you open the thing, you see the first picture, you can immediately close if you have seen enough. Yeah. Give it a shot, Alex. Give it a shot. Again, until someone explicitly tells you to not write them again, you are not pushing their limits. We're going to talk about that. I'm going to figure out with my mentor a way to do it. He's a copywriter. He knows his shit. He's a professional about email. That's his job. He's a copywriter. So I'm going to ask him for follow-up email. I'm going to ask him for help. Follow-up email is going to be the last thing I do with him. So probably towards the end of January. But all the rest, social skill and all of that, we're going to talk about that. Don't worry about it. I want you to we're going to do a challenge in January. I'm going to create a little challenge, like apply to 3 studio a day, contact 10 person a day with a personalized message, send 5 spontaneous email a day. Let's do that for 30 days. At the end of the month, you have reached out to like 300 people, 150 studios and all of that. It's going to be interesting. We're going to gamify that. We're going to make it easy for you. Has anything changed having worked at Ubisoft? I worked there in 2017 and 2018, so I don't know. I don't know. Would you recommend applying if you don't speak French? I mean, Ubisoft in France, everyone speaks English, a bad English, but they have no problem hiring people speaking English or another language. But Ubisoft outside of French, but you just need to speak either English or the language it's implemented into, so that's not a problem. But I don't know really about what has changed. I can only speculate, and I don't want to potentially do defamation about Ubisoft if I speculate on something. So I prefer to refrain from that. Experience doesn't matter if you have a quality work in portfolio. Exactly. At least for junior and mid-level. For French studio, if the offer is in French, they want French speaker. Otherwise, they're open. Yes, I guess so. They are okay with that. Especially Ubisoft. But yeah, if the offer is in French, apply in French. That's fine. Most people, Ubisoft in France are still French. There are a few non-French native people, but 80 to 90% of people will be French anyways. So utilize being able to speak French. But that presentation, I think we did a live stream about that, so it's going to be available. Any final question? And link, please. Can you say please instead of using imperative? How serious can Glassdoor be taken in terms of how current and honest people are? Generally, on Glassdoor, a lot of angry people are speaking. So I will try to make an average of what you have. You have the horror stories. You have people that are clearly kissing boots. And you have everything in the middle. So I will quarantine extreme opinions, either extreme positive or extreme negative. And I will pick the average opinion. That's the way I will do it. Final question. The link is not available yet. It's going to be on Discord. Yeah, I agree with you, Matt. Make your own mind. Don't take one source for info as granted. And just because you found an average of salary on Glassdoor does not entitle you to having that. It's an average, so it means there is always more and always less, including extreme cases of more and extreme cases of less. All right. I will go, folks. I'm starving. I need to take a little something to eat before opening to a call. Next stream when? I don't know. I'll potentially do one more next week, but that's not sure. I need to take a break. I'm at the brink of burnout right now. I'm very tired. And next portfolio review, I don't know. I will see. Probably in January. As always, okay, last question, then I'm gonna. Would you happen to have any guidance for people that are building their portfolio, what to focus on and what not? The artnest.academy/portfolio guide. And join the Discord. You're going to have everything you need. Would you consider doing an art contest where people could get a mentorship as a prize? No. Let me explain you why before I go. That's something I noticed. It's not because I want the money. I'm having other sources of income that have nothing to do with art. They are starting to build up and almost replace what I'm earning with the mentorship. So I'm barely doing it for the money anymore. It's still my job, don't get me wrong. I'm still making my living out of that, but I'm building other streams of income that are increasing very fast. So it's not because I want to skip on a sale. It's just because every occurrences I got of someone joining the mentorship who did not directly pay for it, either it was financed by their companies or by the government or by someone else that is not emotionally attached to them, let's say the employer or something like that, we got dog shit result with the person. The person was not invested, taking it lightly. So unfortunately, when you pay attention. That's the thing. So it's a tricky situation to offer a spot of the mentorship. I know that a contest implies participation and a lot of effort invested first and foremost. I would prefer to give one-on-one consultations, potentially give access to the mentorship content as a do-it-yourself thing. But I'm investing so much time with the mentees, so much to the point that I will need to hire some help starting on January because it's too much now. And I'm going to hire some help. There's way too much time, and every mentee joining the mentorship represents so much investment in time and effort that I need to be extremely careful about that. I would prefer offering a 4090 Ti to the winner of the contest. This is not a promise of result, by the way. This is a bit expensive, but I would prefer to offer something of equivalent value in terms of monetary value than offering it to someone, because you never know. And also, before joining the mentorship, I want to check the portfolio. I want to get into a call with the person to check the mindset, if we vibe along together, if we are enjoying each other's company, if we share the same value, if the person has what I deem to be required to join. And it's not to be elitist, it's just to make sure they get the full value of the mentorship. If I wanted to be greedy, I would accept anyone. I will get 50 students per month. I will be extremely rich, but the mentorship will not even exist because there will not be the quality of talent that we have right now. And I'm actually actively reducing the size of the classes now. It was 2 classes of 8. In January, it's going to be 2 classes of 7. And progressively, it's going to go to 2 classes of 5. And eventually to just 1 class of 8. Eventually. It's going to be smaller and smaller and smaller because I want quality over quantity. But organizing a contest, I have it in mind. It's just that right now I'm in the process of so many paperwork to move to another country that I do not really think about that. But I have the idea for a contest. I need to figure out the price, but I could definitely figure out some cool stuff. So definitely doable. So yeah. Welcome, Matt. That's pretty much it. All right. Talk to you soon, folks. Portfolio guide for those who are interested in the mentorship or are close to junior level and want to know what to do with their stuff to get a job. Join the Discord, link down below. Normally, I think you have to go through the free course to access the Discord now. Talk to you soon, and check out the announcement on Discord for when all the previous streams are going to be made available. See you guys.